more of us could stop operating on autopilot. With all the swirling thoughts in our heads, it's hard to be intentional at times, hard to even articulate what we do, let alone what we really want to do. And yet, this episode reminds us that being able to clearly articulate your work and your direction is a skill. It seems to be a growing theme here on the show of late with our recent guests. But when you can name it, feel it, and resonate with what you want to do, you start to find your vibration in life. I like to call this a person's song and dance. So today's conversation naturally flows into yoga, curiosity, and work because they're not separate. Heather Stewart, a coach and yoga teacher based in Canada, joins me to talk about taking yoga off the mat and into your life and your work, which, by the way, I think is really awesome and needed more today in the yoga world. We talk about how we get stuck in set sequences on the mat and in our careers, rushing in and rushing out, never slowing down enough to get curious. Heather shares her journey from a successful corporate career to owning a yoga studio and eventually realizing that while she loved the people, the work itself was draining the life out of her. Yoga became the doorway not because it fixed everything, but because it helped her realize she was in the wrong place trying to help people. She noticed also that people didn't just come for yoga poses, they came to talk, to be seen, and to navigate the shit in their lives. Heather's answer to what do you do is simple and powerful. She helps raise the vibration of the individual. This is a conversation about curiosity, awareness, and learning to listen to the voice inside you. Let's roll right in. All right, welcome to the Work Sucks, But I Like It podcast. Today we have Heather Stewart. She's a coach, podcaster, speaker, and the creator of the Thriving Life Method. Her work has been featured in Women's World magazine, Elle Canada magazine, and even Yahoo Finance. She's a yoga teacher, and I love her saying that our bodies were meant to be in motion. Heather, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Tony. It's great to meet you. And I always laugh when I hear my introduction because I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool.
All the cool work. No, it's awesome. Good stuff. Well, Heather, let's just jump right in. How do you define your work today?
My goodness. So my work today is really focused around helping people get out of, can I swear on this show?
Absolutely.
Helping people, it's not really swearing, helping people get out of their shit, really. Because people, we come, the way that we grow up and the way that we're educated and depending on your family and your background, you have all this is what you do to be successful, right? This is what you do to get ahead in the world. And it's not always the best for someone's life, soul, purpose, energy. And you can be in a place where you're really unhappy. So life or work can suck and you hate it. And you can also be in a place where there's days work sucks, but you really like what you're doing. And I think that part of what I do is helping people get to but I really like my life phase instead of is this all that's going to happen until I die phase.
So, Heather, how did you arrive to that point? I mean, what was that sort of catalyst moment that said, oh, I want to help others reach this sort of realization?
And it's interesting because I don't know that there was just one moment. So a little bit of background, like I did what I was supposed to do. I went to university, got a degree, 4-year degree, and I became a CPA, chartered accountant. I got promotions. I was doing really well, tra-la-la, I had stock options. I had the company car. I was an executive, and I liked the people. This is interesting. I liked the people that I worked with, but my work was just sucking the life out of me. And one day I was balancing a budget. Well, a couple things happened. I was balancing a budget that was in the billions of dollars. And head office said, I want another $1 million in revenue. So I'm like doing the things accountants do to try and figure out how to make more money legally. And the radio was on behind me. And the majority shareholder of the company apparently was one of the richest people in the country. And this was a story on the radio. And I thought to myself, Jesus, he does not need another $1 million. So I just said, forget it. This is ridiculous. Like, why am I letting my life kind of revolve around making all of these people more money who don't need it? So I just thought, this is ridiculous. And then I was in a meeting. So the company that I was in, industry I was in was the grocery industry, which is very much still an old boys network, or it was. I left 20 years ago, but it very much still was. And I was in a meeting, and the gentlemen in the meeting were trying to figure out how to stop one of their competitor. They saw it as a competitor. So this company is in the billions of dollars. Picture this. And there's these little mom and pop companies called jobbers, where they go to wholesale outlets and then they buy stuff and they sell it into corner stores. That's how they make their money. And they wanted to figure out how to drive these people out of business. And I said out loud in the meeting, CLM, leave them alone. They're just trying to make a living. And everybody stopped. I was the only woman in the room, and it was just like, did she just say that out loud? Oh, some things like this were trickling in. And I had started to practice yoga after work, and I just realized that I was in the wrong place. I was helping the wrong people. I was helping people because, interestingly, people came to me for advice, not financial advice. Like, the mailroom guy would stop and talk to me, and other people in the office would come by if they were just having a bad day and they wanted somebody to talk to. They would come to my office. I'd stop doing what I was doing because it wasn't very interesting anyway, and I would talk to them. So I became well known for that, but I wasn't HR. So I decided it was time to leave. Leave the world of corporate finance, break all the rules, and I became a yoga teacher and opened my own yoga studio. And that was the start of it. So it was kind of like you get little drops. It's like the universe drops in little nuggets along the way to give you an idea of perhaps you should go this way. And sometimes it takes you a little while to pay attention to those.
I love that, Heather. So when you say the phrase, make a living, what does it
Mm.
mean today now for you?
Now, make a living. It's interesting. I did a podcast probably a year or two ago about how to unlock your financial, your cash flow from what you do. And I know that that's so foreign to so many people, because when you think about how am I going to make a living, as in how I'm going to have food, shelter, vacations, and we're coming on right now into the holidays, gifts, etc. How am I going to do all the things I need to do? You need money for that. I totally agree with that. But you don't always have to tie your job to where your income comes from. Income can come from lots of places. And the other thing that we humans do is we tie our human worth, to our income, which is tied to our job. So this weird interaction of, well, I have to make this much money because if I don't make as much money as you, I'm not as successful as you. If I don't get a promotion, I'm not successful. So when I demoted myself from senior executive to yoga teacher, I mean,
It's not
the people,
demotion, that's an upgrade for sure.
I felt like it was an upgrade, but it's interesting because your community is used to you being a certain way. And a lot of the community that I had was a part of could not manage that transition. So we chose to part ways because they disagreed with what was going on. They couldn't There's this like when you have a community, you have this like unwritten, even any community you're in, yoga communities, you know, work communities, friend communities, you have this unwritten, I'm like this and you're like this. And because you're like that and I'm like that, this is how we operate. And if you are in a community that can't adjust to you deciding to be a different way, then some people just stay that way. They just say, okay, they go back. When they're starting to up level who they are as a person. And then they say, oh, it's causing disruption in my community. I have to go back to the way I was. And I didn't do that. I just said, okay, you guys, see you later.
Love
I'll
it.
go find some new friends.
No, I love that. So, Heather, one of the things I've been trying to answer on this show, not to put a lot of pressure on you here, but the question of what do you do, right? How do you answer what do you do?
What do? I raise the vibration of the individual so that they can go out and raise the vibration of their community and create a tidal wave of awesomeness across the planet.
I love that.
That's what
Not
I
by
do.
what you do for income. That was a great answer, Heather. Nice. That was
Right.
excellent. Right on the spot. Well
I've talked
done.
about this a lot, um, and I've just you don't always know what some people do. Some people know immediately, "This is what I wanna do." Like, I knew accountants when I worked with them, they loved what they did. I'm like, "That's amazing. Do it if that's what you love." But I didn't love it. And it took me I went into the yoga. So I was teaching yoga. I had my own yoga studio. I became a personal trainer. I went back to school for 2 years and became a registered massage therapist because here it's a regulated health profession. And through all of that, I was finding the way that I help people kind of figure out is to just be curious. So if you think something's interesting and you're curious about it, follow it because it's not always a direct line to this is my calling in life. It took me a couple of years to figure out that I was here to raise the vibration of the individual or to be able to articulate it in that way. Because I remember once in my 30s, I was talking to my mom and I was in one of those MLMs that sold, those, yeah, here, drink this shake. And I was talking to my mom, I was like, "Mom, I'm supposed to save the world one person at a time, but it's gonna take me a little bit of time." And so I had a different way to articulate it then, and I didn't know exactly how. I was exploring how I was supposed to do that, obviously, and MLMs wasn't my way. It just didn't work out for me. So it's it's being curious and trusting that you don't have to get to the final answer on your first try, right? You didn't make a mistake. I don't think I made a mistake being an accountant. It was very helpful education for me because I can talk to presidents and vice presidents as easily as I can talk to a mom and pop company, right? I can relate to all levels of humans for the most part and be able to connect with them in a way that um, I'm not going to I'm not gonna ask when I'm helping people, I'm not gonna ask them to do something that doesn't fit them. And in fact, I never actually tell people what to do. It's let's figure out what feels good for you and let's explore it a little bit and hold a space for that because it's kind of scary when you're changing things if you've never done it before.
No, I love that, Heather. So I'm also a yoga teacher, and I'd love to kind of dive more into your work on yoga
Yeah.
because it's so interesting, right? So Mark Stevens was an author. I forget of what book. Put in the notes for the audience there after and for you as well. But he basically state that yoga is a reflection of kind of like the internal state of your mind, right? So meaning like today's yoga practice, I'm going to just bias it, right off the bat, and you'll probably laugh here. But it's all like a hot, room dance party. You can't even find your breath. It's unbelievable. But I look at that and say, well, that's where people's mind and work is at today. It's nonstop. Can you talk about how you approach curiosity from, your yoga background?
I think it's hilarious that you said that because this weekend I was driving and there was a huge billboard, puppy and kitten yoga. I'm like, really? Really?
No.
And I was looking at a flyer today. I was at a coffee shop, ganja yoga, because marijuana is legal here. So we can have ganja yoga if we want. It's like, okay, people have to find find their way. When I had my yoga studio, I had my own studio, bricks and mortar for 10 years. And I used to joke, I said, people will come to get their yoga butt, right? They come for the yoga butt. And I'll say, sure, I'll get you your yoga butt. But that's not actually what I'm going to do because what, and it is true, it's almost like we're trying to invent this new and improved. Have you noticed that at least in the West, everything has to be new, improved, better. We have to make it better, make it better, make it better, make it better. And that's not to say that that's a negative, but in some ways, it distracts you from the good things that are already there because you're like, this is no good. We got to make it better. But yoga has been around, what, thousands of years? And a lot of when I first started practicing, I look back now and it's so funny because I started practicing. I've been teaching now for 20 years. So I've been practicing for like 25 years. at the time when I started practicing, I thought it was just so cool. I started doing Ashtanga, right? Power yoga, very, very North American, very type A, very corporate executive because I was still an executive then. And this is the best yoga. All the other yogas are wrong. I just laugh my butt off now because I'm like, really seriously, Heather, what the F were you talking about? But at that time, I was so engrossed and so invested in that as part of my personality that I couldn't see there was other yogas until I injured my shoulder because
Mm.
nobody corrected my chaturanga. I'm like, really? I talked to a yoga teacher one day. My shoulder's hurting. Oh, you're probably just working out some energy. I'm like, no, I'm not. I got tendonitis. Like, come on. So my yoga now, like it is yoga, people will force themselves into the yoga that they think is the cool yoga now or that it has some kind of status instead of what feels good. So I studied under the lineage of Desikachar, Krishnamacharya, which is you do not sacrifice the body for the glory of the pose, right? So this is my whole kind of philosophy. And people ask me what kind of yoga I teach now. I'm like, Heather yoga?
I love
Because
that. Yeah, right.
I've studied, like I did study Ashtanga and I studied Kundalini, which is a very interesting practice. And I studied Iyengar a little bit, which I have some love hate with. I've done some Bikram. I've done, what's the ones that starts with the headstand all the time? Yeah, it'll come back to me. And, I've gone to Kripalu, like I've done all of these different yogas. And now when you do my yoga, it actually also has Qigong and Tai Chi in it because I've studied those. And they just slide together so beautifully. Like yoga is pointy, Tai Chi has these round edges. And I can just, like when I teach now, I people say, "Can you teach what you taught last week?" I'm like, "No, I can't." Because because I don't know what I taught. I just start to move, let the energy flow, and teach it. And when I used to teach in a live class, I'd say, the do not sacrifice the body. I'd say, "Okay, you do this and you do this," which is hard to do in a bigger class, but inviting people to actually tune it because for me, yoga is like, what? It's not even the postures, right? Asana is just part of the yoga. It's like, what do you need right now? What would feel good right now? Not just following this is a primary sequence, and that's what we always do. We just do it. It's kind of like shutting down your discernment, where yoga is supposed to be body and mind together, making a decision in that moment. So I did a workshop once with Wade Morissette. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah.
He's this brother of Alanis Morissette, the rock star. Don't know if you know who she is. So he's a big yoga teacher, and he made a comment. I was at this retreat with him. He said, North Americans, they just love Ashtanga. And there was a lot of Ashtanga teachers in the room, and he said, I'm going to upset a lot of you right now by telling you that's not the appropriate practice for you right now. And they were like, and he explained how each um, different style of practice, which I had never heard before, this is quite a number of years ago, like Ashtanga was invented by Krishnamacharya for Patabi Joyce because he was a young, super active male and he needed to burn energy. Boom, there's your practice. But Patabi Joyce turned it into this whole thing. And then Iyengar, he gave Iyengar his yoga because he had some physical things going on, like structural things. So he gave him, furniture yoga is what we call it, right? So with all these props to help him get proper alignment. So he gave all these people individual practices for them, which they then turned into a system. So that doesn't mean it's appropriate for everyone or appropriate for all seasons of your life. But we get stuck in that idea. So I've been talking lots all over the place, but yeah, I feel like if you can be open to listening to what would serve you physically, and some days it's not an asana practice, some days it's just a sitting down and being quiet practice.
I love that
right?
so much, Heather. So I'm actually wrapping up a book called In a Rush to Go Nowhere, Finding Shavasana. And it's funny because
What?
you mentioned that billboard and the front cover is you driving down the road and you got one hand and with the phone and then you have one hand on the steering wheel and then there's a sign saying come to yoga and then the horizons it's all like, glowy and magical and whatnot. And the whole book is kind of what you're tapping into really where yoga's at today. It's just I practice Ashtanga, which is hilarious you say that, but I don't teach it because it's not accessible to a lot of people, right? You kind of meet them
Yeah,
where they're at.
absolutely.
So there's a lot of parallels I'd love to build off here, Heather. So what is one thing that you've learned in the 20 plus years of you teaching from yoga when you work with people doing, I guess, other work? What kind of things do you draw from your experiences, your perspective with yoga in working with others in the context, I guess, outside of yoga?
And it's fascinating because I had this conversation just this weekend about taking your yoga off the mat, right? It's like so often I would see people, and in the beginning I did this myself, rushing into yoga. Oh my God, I got to get to yoga. I'm so stressed out. And then I'll zen for 15 minutes and then I've got to rush back out. I'm like, okay, how's that serving you exactly? One day I was offering free meditation classes in my yoga studio, and this woman came charging in with her daughter pulled behind her. I was sitting at the desk. She did not say hello to me. She went charging through a door, which actually went into my apartment, not my yoga studio, came back out. She went charging behind me. She went down the stairs to the bathroom. She came back out. She said, "Where's the meditation?" I'm like, "Hi, how are you doing?" So when I'm talking to people, I'm not going to call them out because that's judgment, right? It's like
Mm.
I will ask questions. So, like Bikram yoga or moksha, is that it? Moksha, the hot yoga? I wanted to call it mocha.
Yeah, I know
So,
Bikram. No, that's
the
hot.
non-branded Bikram hot yoga, I will, or like any of the yogas, I have my own personal opinions about whether, and that's because they don't work for me, right? So, I'm not gonna put that on you. So you practice Ashtanga, awesome. There are people who it's totally appropriate for, especially being a massage therapist, because I had to study anatomy, physiology, pathology, all the ologies for 2 years. Blow your brains out crazy. I can see bodies now and I go, "Okay, so you wanna practice yoga, or you are practicing this kind of yoga and you're finding this is happening. Is there a reason that you picked just that yoga?" Right? What is drawing you to just that yoga and what do you like about it? And then do you think that you can get that somewhere in a different class? I mean, I used to have people ask me what kind of yoga they should practice, and I would often say the one that makes you feel good, right?
Right.
What makes you feel good? Or the one where you connect with the teacher. So a lot of people will stay in a class because like I do not like hot yoga. It just makes me feel super nauseous. I don't tolerate that movement and heat. I'm a, it's my, it's my Ayurvedic setting. So when people do it, I'm like, oh wow, that's kind of interesting. Like, why are you there? So, cause I got to sweat. I'm like, do you really have to sweat? Like, there's other ways to do that. But if you can find a teacher who understands um, how to navigate the different bodies in the room, or a teacher that you connect with, then it's almost like that teacher gives you permission to be
Mhm.
yourself. You feel more able to be yourself. I would have people in my class who would try to throw themselves into these positions, and because they wanted to impress me. I'm sorry, they were usually men.
That's okay. That's yeah. Most of the culprits
And
there,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's okay. I
Yeah.
mean, but and those were once I got to realize what was going on, that was the classes where I'm like, "Peter, you're not going to do this pose. You're going to do this." And he would like almost get in a huff at me. I'm like, just, you'll thank me later. Right. Because I don't want people to be injured. I would joke with them like, look, I don't want you on my massage table. I don't wanna have to fix what you're gonna do in doing yoga. So, like, let's just get it right the first time.
Well, it's good business for you because 'cause they'll come back, for your massage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so fascinating to watch people do what it's it's the I think it's our desire to be right at something, like do something correctly. And we see that to do this correctly, I have to be exactly like this. Where I would ask people, don't go for the outward appearance of the pose, go for the internal pose. So that's why you don't have mirrors in yoga studios, right? Like, although Bikram does, I know, but
Correct.
it's
No,
like,
I'm with you, Heather, believe me, we're talking the same
yeah,
language here.
exactly. It's
Yeah.
like, don't look at the person next to you. They have a completely different body than you do. It's like, what does it feel like? Is it hurting? It's so funny. So I developed over the years of teaching, I have 2 rules, and every single one of my classes, no matter what I'm teaching. Right now, I teach chair yoga. I teach a yoga tai chi fusion class. Like, I teach all these things. And I've developed this 2 rules that have also evolved into life rules. So the first rule that you have for any of my classes is you have to breathe.
Mm.
So if you stop breathing, that means you shouldn't be doing whatever you're doing. And number
Yeah, keep
2,
breathing.
yeah, number 2, don't cause yourself any pain, full stop. So I sometimes put the caveat in, it's like, you're allowed to have effort, but do not cause yourself injurious pain.
Mm.
And there's a difference, and sometimes I think people struggle with what the difference is. So I try to,
Sutra
like,
2.46, right? Sthirasukha Asanam, right? That effort and ease. And to your
yeah,
point, like today, everybody's working so much. There's no like kind of, yeah.
there's no
I guess
break.
why do you think, Heather, it's difficult for people to go inward, right? And I do love yoga for that activity, right? Why is the work of going inward so hard for people today? What are your thoughts on that?
I think they're afraid of what they're gonna see.
Why?
They uh, People walk around with this, image of who they are, right? I am this. And it's so funny. I was hanging out with my girlfriends this weekend, and I showed up. I There was a lot of traffic, so I was about half an hour late. They said, "It's okay, Heather, you're always late." And I went, "Am I? Oh my god, am I always late?" Because I had this image of myself that I'm an on-time person, and these 2 of my very good friends said, "I'm always late," so I had to pause and reflect on that and say, "Oh, maybe I am late more often than I think." But I knew this friend when I lived, on the East Coast who was a serial dater, and we hung out together a lot, like, we went to football games, we did all these things, and, he every time I met him, he had a different girl with him. I said I said, why don't you just be single for a while and just have some fun?" He said, "I don't like to spend time with myself." And I was an accountant then, so that was like "Oh, that's really interesting. Like, why wouldn't you want to spend time with yourself, but you want other people to spend time with you?" So if you don't like yourself, why do you think other people are gonna, what are they feeling? So I know that the reason people don't want quiet. Even, like, think of how much noise there is in the world. Headphones constantly.
Yes.
There's never any quiet space. You come home, you turn on the music. You go out, you put on your radio in the car. You put your headphones on when you're walking. And now you're walking around the city. You just assume people have headphones on and can't hear you no matter what's going on. And what would happen if there was sudden quiet? You would start to hear the voices that are talking to you. And you would have to acknowledge the conversation that's going on in your head, and you would have to engage with that. And I say, putting on your big girl pants, like taking responsibility for your own well being. And this is some of my big sister tough love that I give people sometimes. It's like, you are responsible for your life, and you can't put that responsibility on anyone else. So if you don't know what's going on inside your head and you don't know the conversations that are happening there, you are outsourcing your life, and then you can't be upset about how it's going for you. mean, I'm not saying life's always perfect when you take ownership of your life because we are humans living in the we're on the planet and we're here for an experience. But when you know when you spend enough time with the voices inside your head, doesn't mean that you're crazy if there's voices inside your head. When you spend enough time with them, you get to know them. You get to know why they're there. You get to turn the volume down, maybe. You get to turn the volume up on the ones that are helping you. I mean, they're all trying to help you, just some have lost their way and are not doing it in the best way. And you become able to be really connected to who you are. So you are less able to be thrown off by bumps in the road, thrown off when someone says, "Oh, you are always late." Like, I might have been upset about that in a past life, but this time I'm like, "Oh, really? That's interesting. I got to think about that one." It's not a personal attack on me. And it's interesting to watch people if there's people that that if you just make a comment, it's so personal, even if it's just a very light comment, that they will take it in such a way that it sets off something in them and they spiral instead of just, "Oh, that's interesting. Let's think about that." Because they don't know how to have that internal dialogue with themselves. It's such a valuable practice.
Sitting with ourselves sucks, right? So this is the Work Sucks, but I like it podcast. So walk us through, Heather, how to make it not suck so we're not insane here.
So you're not insane?
So we're not
Mm,
insane, right?
right. Because of the voices. So it's funny because I've been meditating longer than I've been doing yoga, actually. I had a yoga therapist for a little while who was helping me with some injuries that I had from my Ashtanga days. I still love there's days that I really love a strong practice, but he was commenting. He's like, "Wow, you went a bit backwards. You started with the mental versus the physical. Most people start with the physical first." I'm like, Kappa, I just wanted to sit and, and think. So when, because I love meditation, it is work, but it becomes a work that you really like to do after you go through some of the chunky bits. So when I first started practicing, I actually practiced with a teacher. So who could, help me. And it's funny because you're like, well, all you're doing is sitting there not talking with your eyes shut. It's like, yeah. But if I came out of my meditation and said, "Oh my God, this happened," he would, he didn't even say anything. He's just like, "Oh, that's interesting." I felt safer having that person there. And when because I obviously can't, I'm only one person, but sitting in meditation with people, because I include meditation at the beginning and end of my yoga classes. And I can remember one day one of the students said, um, "I thought we were here for yoga.
Oh
I want to be
no.
doing the asana, right? They wanted to just
Yeah,
move,
yeah.
sweat, move, sweat." I'm like, "This is yoga. It's a secret." Like, but it's when I recommend it to people who have no concept, I don't tell them it's meditation. I say, "Sit and stare out the window for 5 minutes and don't think about anything." Like daydream. I call it daydreaming. Daydream for 5 minutes every day. And that'll start to actually slow down their doing, doing, like giving themselves permission to do nothing for 5 minutes. Like, first you gotta be okay doing nothing. Then, when they're like, "Oh, I'm really liking this daydreaming for 5 minutes," I was like, "Okay, well then let's up it. Let's up the game. Like, let's level up. Let's make it everything's gamified now." I'm learning chess on Duolingo. It's gamified learning chess. Let's up level. So now when you're sitting, maybe you close your eyes while you sit there for 5 minutes. If it's too much, open your eyes again and just stare out the window. But I just don't want them to be looking at anything in particular because you can get too engaged in, like, when I look out the window, I see a tree, so that's perfect. I don't want them to be too engaged with what's going around. And it's like you just add on a little bit at a time until you can get them to the point where I say you don't have to sit gazing at your navel. Like, you can sit in a chair with your feet on the floor relaxed, 5 minutes, breathe with your eyes closed, you know, br and just, um, be. And don't try to stop your brain because it's impossible. It's impossible to stop. People think they have to stop their thoughts. You don't. You just have to be able to observe them. And I say, don't go on the parade. Like you can watch the parade. You don't have to get in the on the float. You can just watch it go by. And I did an online class with oh my God, his name just left my brain. He's on Mind Valley, if you have ever used Mind Valley, and he was talking about, like, you take your awareness first he was saying, "Take your awareness behind your eyes." It's like, just with your eyes closed, you imagine your awareness is right behind your eyes, and then he said, "Then you move back and up a little bit, and there's a quiet space there." It's like, "Okay." So I've been experimenting with that, and it's funny because I just took as long as I've been meditating, I'd never heard that one, and I just heard it last year. I'm like, "I'll try that," and I actually quite enjoy it, but it could be like I wouldn't have been ready for it before, right? Things arrive when you're ready for them. But there's ways because I studied with my meditation teacher, I studied for a couple of years to become a meditation facilitator. So it's like I have, what kind of meditation do you want? I can do mantra, like we can throw in mantra if you just need some internal radio playing for a little while, like and movement, we can do anything. And it's kind of like yoga, right? There's a meditation that's going to really connect someone to themselves and help them feel like they can slow down. I feel like we've been speeding up, speeding up, speeding up, and I don't know whether that's bad or good. I actually can see both sides of that one. In some ways, yeah, in some ways, you're missing something. But I feel like if you can choose to speed up and slow down, I think that it's important to be able to choose, not always on high speed, not always on low speed, you know, modulate for what's going on. I think that's more powerful than always going fast or always going slow.
Love that. So, Heather, one thing we try to kind of uncover in this show also is we say that good luck is, I mean, success is not good luck, it's good skills. So, building upon that, I guess it sounds like the skill is needed today of regulating our pace of how we react, respond. Can you build upon that kind of skill development
And
that
it's
you think we need?
intentional. So I think what we need is to, on the weekend, I had a dream about zombies. Messages come to me in my dreams. So mm, we we are wired that when we learn how to do something, we don't have to keep paying attention to it, right? It becomes just that's how habits are formed. Not always in the best, for the best of what we do, but we have a habit. So even yoga, even primary series can become a habit, right? Do this, 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 and you're not thinking about what you're doing. So yoga doesn't save you from having to be mindful, but at the same time, we don't have the capacity to pay attention to every single thing and every single decision we make in the day. So being able to, when you see yourself doing something, if you need to, being able to say, hold on, let's really make a decision about this versus just the reaction or the regular habit. The hold on, this just a second. This like I earlier today I was working my website has been driving me mad. And my my partner started talking to me and I could hear this voice coming out that was sounding a little bit crabby. Like, hold on, Heather, do you really want to speak to him that way just because you're having trouble with your website? So I had to say, no, I don't. Whoosh. And I just said, Can I talk to you in a few minutes? Not right this second, So, but I can see if you aren't, if you don't have the ability to make a discernment and an intention because you haven't ever tried to view and it's interesting, you can't really view yourself from the outside, but an imagination of what it's like to step outside of yourself and see yourself. If you never experienced that, um, it's hard for you to it can I'm not gonna say it's hard. It can be out of your awareness to be able to say, "I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make a different decision." And I think really, like, yoga aside, life, let's talk about life. If people had the ability to not operate on autopilot, which I think was what my zombie dream was about, was what it was really about, was people on autopilot and not aware of their what like some people aren't even aware of the people around them and the impact that they're having. My partner was in a store today and he said this lady was standing in the middle of the doorway sorting out things, and the clerk came over and had to tell her to move because she had no idea there was a lineup of people behind her. But you can see, like, people get so caught up in their head and in what's going on in their brain, and they're trying to keep everything so contained that they can't see. They can't see what's going on. They can't see their impact. They can't see their way forward sometimes. They're just kind of stuck in this swirling of I just picturing this, all the things going on in people's heads. And it's so hard for them to be intentional. But imagine in life, if people could be intentional just even once a day, how that could shift things. Wouldn't that
No,
be cool?
I love that, Heather. If people want to reach out to you for coaching or,
Mhm.
step into your yoga, classes, where's a good place to for them to go?
My website is working for the most part, friends. Don't worry, even though it's making me crazy. Heatherstewart.coach is where it is. And it's so interesting because I just created this, I call it an alignment activation. So people get an hour with me free. And I just ask them some questions about some key areas of their life. And it's really helps to unlock some patterns of behavior. And, some of the people that I've talked to said, I've been concentrating on the wrong thing. I'm like, oh, okay, awesome. Let's go concentrate on something else. And one lady I talked to recently said, Heather, you should be charging for this. I'm like, I know, but my guides tell me right now it's free. So right now I'm not charging for it. And I have a book coming out too. Congratulations on birthing a book. Oh my gosh, it's a lot of
Yeah.
work, isn't
Yeah. What's yours? What's
it?
yours for the audience? Yeah.
Illuminate your worth. Stop pretending you're okay and start living like it.
Is it already out or is it?
No, not yet.
Yes.
I've
All
just got the
right.
final I've got the final draft in my email. I just have to go and go through it.
Well, congrats. Well, hopefully in
Mhm.
2026, we'll be able to get a
Woo-hoo,
copy. And
right?
no, that's excellent. Well, Heather, thanks so much for being on the show. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Tony. It was awesome chatting with you.
This episode is a reminder that you don't need a perfect lesson plan for your life. Curiosity doesn't move in straight lines, and neither does purpose. You don't need to stop your thoughts or silence your mind, you just need to learn how to observe them. A common misperception I find in students and people, being a yoga teacher myself. You get to choose whether you're speeding up or slowing down instead of living at one extreme all the time. Heather leaves us with simple but powerful wisdom for her yoga practice: breath, and don't cause yourself any pain. Go for the internal pose, not the external one. Find teachers or people who give you permission to be yourself, because yoga doesn't save you from mindfulness, it really teaches you how to live it. As I say in the book, The Impression of a Good Life, Finding Your Song and Dance, it's about understanding your vibrations of thought. Success is not good luck, it's good skills. The skill today is to go try a yoga class. As you know, I teach yoga myself here in New Hampshire at New Hampshire Power Yoga in Merrimack. So if you haven't already tried yoga, if you're up in the Toronto region of Canada, check out what Heather's doing as well in the yoga scene. Or just go on YouTube and reach out to me too if you're interested in what types of class you may or may not be interested in taking. Thanks for listening to Work Sucks, but I like it. Until next time, stay curious, raise your vibrations as Heather reminds us, and keep doing the work that helps you become more of who you already are.